I wanted to do a recording today on my journey because over the years of helping those with thyroid disease, my main goal was learning other people's stories and giving them as much information as possible for healing. So I started to realize that sharing my story can actually help you on your journey and show you that you can heal too. So where did I start with all of this thyroid talk? How did I find out I had a thyroid problem, an autoimmune disease? What led me to the point of healing and helping others as well? So in this recording, we will go over that. As an adult, I think back to my childhood and remember having so many health issues. Always dealing with some type of issue became very normal to me. It wasn't until recently that I realized this was not normal at all. At a very young age, I suffered from anxiety, bladder issues, infections, so much more. I never really understood why I was having these problems. I just kind of learned to live with it. And as I got older into my teenage years, I experienced things like diverticulosis and my lung collapsed 3 times, which was a very scary time for me. If you don't know what diverticulosis is, it's small pouches that develop in your digestive tract, and these pouches became inflamed and infected quite often, which led me to the emergency room a lot. The pain was so bad that they would always give me morphine. So there was a couple years in my life that I can say I was getting injected with morphine more than a couple of times a month. I for sure believe I had a thyroid disease ever since I was young. I also believe that the toxic food I ate, the chemicals I put onto my skin, and the medications I took led me to my autoimmune disease. As a child, and even until I started my healing journey, I was taking some form of antibiotic or medicine. And thyroid disease definitely ran in the family. So after I graduated from college in the beginning of 2015, and as an adult, I lived my life very unaware of how important hormone balance is for my health. And before I was diagnosed with thyroid and Hashimoto's autoimmune disease, I struggled with anxiety, extreme weight fluctuations. I gained about 30 pounds and lost it in the same month. So I had more symptoms like hair loss, fatigue, dizziness, blood pressure, and blood sugar problems, brain fog, definitely for sure mood issues like you wouldn't believe, and a lot of other symptoms. I saw many doctors as all the symptoms really scared the shit out of me, to be honest. And I saw a doctor for my heart as I thought something was definitely wrong with my heart. My heart rate would be in the hundreds just sitting down. So I thought that was definitely not normal. And the doctor gave me a heart monitor to wear, and he also did a stress test, which I came to find out my heart is perfectly normal. I was struggling with diverticulosis and was told I need to follow a special diet for my stomach. After 2 colonoscopies, they said if I do not follow this diet, that I would need to remove part of my colon. By the way, I stopped this diet when I started to heal my body, and my colon is for sure still kicking. I haven't had a flare-up since then, and it's been years. So I went from going to the emergency room a couple times a month for a long time to completely stopped. So I can honestly say I saw so many doctors for all these different issues, and I lost count. On top of seeing medical doctors, I started going to a therapist. The doctor suggested that none of my symptoms were physical, they were more mental, and suggested a therapist. So me not knowing anything about health at the time, I listened to my doctor. As I struggled with my symptoms, I showed up to therapy twice a week for a year. He did so many things to try to help me, but it wasn't really working. It wasn't like a typical session where you would just sit down and talk. He would hook me up to things to measure my brain waves. He would do different practices with me. It was actually very interesting, but none of it actually worked for me. Finally, after a year, my therapist sat me down and explained that he used all of his options with helping me and I should go to my doctor to get it checked out. And I thought to myself, great, I'm back to square one. When I notified my doctor of what my therapist said, he thought it still was a mental issue and gave me anti-anxiety medication. From there, I tried Ativan and Xanax, both at different points in my life, and both of these medications gave me suicidal thoughts. So I had no other choice but to stop these medications, and I noticed that they actually made my anxiety 10 times worse. At this point, I was seriously convinced I was dying. I had no clue what was going on with my body and felt that no one truly wanted to help me. There was no doctor that can actually help me feel better. But then I experienced this turning point, and that was forever going to change my life. I have to mention a little bit about my aunt's thyroid story, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here telling mine. I would have never got better. So I feel it's important to tell you a little bit about her. So my aunt was diagnosed with thyroid issues and was told she had nodules that could be cancerous. They told her the only way they can know if the nodules are cancerous is if they remove her thyroid and see. She also at the time didn't know much about thyroid disease and was terrified of possibly having cancer. So she agreed to have her thyroid removed, and after the procedure, she found out that she was definitely in the clear and didn't have thyroid cancer. But now she was left without a thyroid and was told she had to take medication for the rest of her life. All of this was not explained to her before she got this done. It was really important that the doctors should have sat down with her and told her, but this was not discussed, so she did not know that she would have to be on medication. So not only that, but when they removed her thyroid, her throat started to fill up with blood and swell to the point where she could not breathe. They quickly rushed her to get a tube in her neck to drain out the blood and put a tube in her throat so she can actually breathe. From there, she was rushed to the ICU for a couple of days to be monitored, and that was the start of her journey. That was the start of her thyroid health journey, which was a very bad start. From there, she got worse and worse and just was very confused, as she thought removing her thyroid would actually help her symptoms because that's what the doctors told her. She went through an overwhelmingly amount of symptoms through the years, and I eventually was able to help her. She was actually the first person I helped with their thyroid. And that is something that I definitely want to record another video and do, because she went through so much and can help so many people with her story as well. So I'll be looking to do that. But when she found out all the things I was going through, she said, "Kara, it's your thyroid. You need to go get this checked. You need to ask your doctor to check it." So I did, and let me just tell you, getting your doctor to check your thyroid levels is like pulling teeth. After convincing them to check my thyroid, the results came back and they said, "I don't see anything wrong." But my aunt was totally convinced that I had a thyroid problem and told me to keep checking. So I again went from doctor to doctor asking for this to be done. Finally, I found one that actually diagnosed me with a thyroid disease, but I wasn't in the clear there based off my hormone levels. I found out later that this is fairly common because of the lack of knowledge about thyroid disease. So I was told to wait until my levels show up on paper to get medication. So my levels had to be a certain point for me to receive any of that. And I was left to deal with all these symptoms until it really showed up on paper. And as I struggled to find answers to all my symptoms, I said, screw this, I'm going to do my own research, and that's exactly what I did. Eventually, they put me on medication. That one made the situation worse. So all this time, I thought this medication would be my magic pill, but it did more harm than good. Even though my doctor said it would be impossible to remove my medication, at this point, I was determined to not be on medication the rest of my life. I have a thyroid, and knowing what my aunt went through, knowing that she doesn't have a choice, I knew that I needed to get off this medication. The first big discovery I had about my health was the impact that food had on my body. The first big change I made was gluten, soy, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and caffeine. I did that for a full year. In addition, through testing, I found I had many other food sensitivities in addition to those foods I removed. and made the choice to also remove those as well. And these foods were even foods that were healthy for you. I didn't even expect to be sensitive to them. So I also started buying all organic. That helped me tremendously and gave me the motivation to keep going. After removing certain foods, I still had other symptoms, so I knew there was more I had to do. The more I researched, the more I began realizing that I had to make other lifestyle changes, like removing anything that contained toxic chemicals. So I removed toxic skincare products, cleaners, makeup, home supplies, cookware, and so much more. My boyfriend at first thought I was absolutely insane. I just came home one day after really doing a lot of research and removed everything from our house. And I don't usually suggest that because it could be very overwhelming to try to buy everything at once, but I was so done with my symptoms that that's what I chose to do. I also made sure to cleanse my body from all the toxic overload, and in this process, I practiced stress reduction, and I also tried to find natural ways to heal my gut and inflammation in my body. So changing your lifestyle is never easy, let me tell you that. It took a while for me to adapt, and from all the holistic alternatives, I was able to heal my thyroid, reverse my autoimmune disease, and remove medication completely. Now, like I said, this was a very long journey. I had to stop working at my prior job for a couple months because my symptoms got so bad that I couldn't even function at work. At such a young age, you would think that I would be okay to work, but I just couldn't function and it was affecting my work. So there was times where I was really low and it wasn't always good and symptom free. It definitely was a hard process. And after all these changes, I began to realize that I can really make a difference for other people struggling with this disease. When it came to healing my body, I read so many books and spent so much time researching. I also took many holistic classes, such as Chinese medicine, herbs, essential oils, detoxification, and more. With this, I learned a lot of different methods and techniques of healing, and I began to really love educating others. And the first person I went to was my aunt. I wrote up a 16-page protocol and said, here, follow this. Every day for months, we would go step by step of the protocol of what she needed to do. I saw that it was helping her and I thought I need to share this with others. So I joined a bunch of Facebook groups for thyroid disease and just posted, for anyone that's struggling with thyroid disease and wants more information on healing, download this protocol. Back then, I didn't have a business. I didn't know how to do any of the tech stuff. I just knew to go on Facebook. So I collected people's email addresses and one by one, I sent them the information. Soon, I was sending hundreds of emails a day. At this point, people were reaching back out to me and saying, this is amazing, you're doing great work, and do you do anything on the side for like coaching through this? Because this is a lot of information. So is there any way that you could break it down a little bit more? And I knew this was something that people would probably want because my aunt was even feeling the same way. She couldn't just take the protocol and say, I'm going to do it. She actually needed me to walk her step by step through it. So I thought to myself, I should really create a class where people can learn this slowly and easily. And this is where my business actually started. In 2017, I started my website, Concepts of Life and Wellness, and it was dedicated to sharing ideas in holistic health. Our goal is to address healing the mind, body, and soul as a whole. So part of the site focuses on thyroid disease because that is where I started with my health journey, and I created a course to help people with their journey to heal their thyroid condition. This thyroid healing course was so successful for me, and so I'm now expanding it to the Thyroid Healing Community membership. And this is a monthly membership that you can sign up for and you will get the course. But then on top of that, you will also get articles that I write every month, Q&As, videos, so much more. We'll have guest speakers on there. So I wanted to take it up a notch with giving more information to the thyroid community. So some advice I would give to you if you're trying to start out your thyroid healing journey is it's really important to continue to make a commitment to live every day holistically. Living holistically is not a trend. It's rather a lifestyle that requires a lot of dedication and a lot of commitment. Realizing the importance of a clean diet for your hormonal health is definitely key. Of equal importance is addressing stress and maintaining self-care. If you're struggling with a thyroid condition, understand that everyone's body is different. So healing takes time. It for sure did not happen overnight for me, and I also did not do one thing to heal my body. It was a multitude of things in combination that led me to my healing. So don't worry and don't be tricked into thinking that there is this magic pill, drink, supplement, essential oil. It doesn't matter. There is not one thing that's going to completely cure your body. The most important thing of all is not to give up, to stay positive and choose what holistic alternatives work best for you. And so I hope this helps you understand that we all have to start somewhere. We all have or are struggling to feel better. You are not alone in this. So thank you for listening to my story, and I really wish all of you the best of healing.